came from a beautiful planet. All the terrain you could imagine, animals, weather, it was wild. Deserts, we'd settled all over the planet, including in the deepest of the deserts. Beaches, it was beautiful. We had cities too. My wife and I lived in a city. I'm Clay. She's Kira. We had a nice little home. Not a big spot, but enough space for a garden. Visitors would come by whenever they felt like it. It was a friendly place. We didn't want for much. Keep the place tidy. Work on the garden. Read a book. And have a beer once in a while. We really enjoyed it. We were in love. Spend our time just hanging out, having fun when Kira wasn't working. She was an engineer, physicist. Here in the city we lived in, most everybody was pretty friendly. We didn't have any problems with anybody. Just living the good life. There was occasional troubles, but that's from outsiders. We'd spend our days working on the garden, though neither of us very good at it. And guests would stop by all the time, all the friends in the neighborhood. Whole city is one big neighborhood, really. Once again, it was a good life. We enjoyed it, and we enjoyed each other's company. Even enjoyed the chores we had to do. Just taking care of the place, hanging out. We spent all of our time together when she wasn't working. And the city was a nice place. We didn't have many complaints. And then we got news that something bad was coming. Something that was going to wreck the planet. There was a meteorite, a huge one. Big enough to take this whole place out and then some. Kira got called in. She was a physicist. The government built all these labs everywhere. They wanted people to figure out how to build ships. So they took all the scientists, put them in the labs, put them to work. They're pretty advanced places. All kinds of research going on. They were essentially bunkers. They had their own security forces. Well protected, so I didn't have any worries that she was going to get hurt. I didn't get to see her as much as I'd like to, but it is what it is. She'd write, call, Skype, whatever, just to let me know what she's up to. She said she spent most of her days just researching, trying to figure out how to build these ships. It was a good thing she did, because she got us both a trip off the planet. Although I didn't see her very much in them last couple months. I spent my time at home, just hanging out, not doing too much. In all honesty, I was anxious, scared. I missed my wife. So I just hung out, ate food, watched TV. I let the garden go. I didn't have it in me to harvest anything. Spent way too much time drinking way too many beers, trying to get my nerves to calm down a bit. And that's what it did, man. Just hung out. Didn't even get many visitors those days. Everybody was so anxious. She'd write frequently enough, let me know things were going well. They were making great progress. They had everything they needed, and they were well protected and taken care of. Most of them security people, highly trained. Random citizens periodically would attack the base, trying to get in there, thinking they had the answers. And most everybody was terrified. We're all going to die if we stay. They were so well equipped, those security forces. Any of them citizens that got ballsy enough, man, they didn't stand a chance. Between the guns on the base, or the forces that they had hired, Things went nuts, man. They could take care of any threat, so they claimed. And so they did. Most of them security people wouldn't even be getting on the flight out of here. But their children would. That was the price they were paying. Get their kids off the planet. Try and get them to survive. They didn't bother much with all the citizens they killed. Just normal people, man. Just scared. Whatever. They just heaped up the bodies. Picked them up and put them wherever. The bodies piled up. Over the months, the ship was being worked on. Kira said it was pretty disgusting. There wasn't much she could do. Eventually, they figured it out and started building the ship. Figured out the engine, basic structure. Thing came together. She said it was one of the biggest ones she'd heard of. They got the engine sorted out. Made as many little sleep pods as they could. Get as many people out of here as they could. And man, did they make a lot. According to her, anyway. And a couple months later, it was done. It was time to go. Time to get out of here before the place went up. People were loading up. Some of the security personnel. And it was Kira and my turn. We kissed. Hopped on in. Waited for the rest of the people to come in and fill it up. And eventually, the ship was ready. It was time to take off. And that's what we did. We got on off the planet. We were gonna live. Or so we thought. We blasted off. There were other ships taking off too. People getting away. And the meteor came. It broke apart into a few pieces, but there was still a huge chunk. Smacked straight into the planet, almost perpendicular. Computer's AI looked into it, said it blasted it down to the core, shot half the planet out into space. But we were all sleeping, just drifting through space, headed for some planet somewhere they'd picked out, said it'd be safe to live on. But a few hundred years into the trip, something went wrong. Ship's AI recognized 15 to 20 of the occupants had been compromised somehow. Something had gotten into their sleep pods, either killed them or done something. The readings were bizarre. The ship couldn't make sense of it, so it steered us to the nearest planet, started shooting us all down. We didn't have a choice in the matter. We ended up scattered all over the place. Now here we are. We have to see if we can make it here. If we want to make it here, maybe we can get back to space. Move on somehow. Hopefully I can find Kira, and we can figure out where to go from there. It's not gonna be easy. I found myself crashed down right in the middle of an abandoned city. Did my best to look around a bit. Seemed like the place is kind of a mess. Also seemed like there were some hostile guys running around, some of which had pretty solid armor and equipment. I'm standing here in nothing but a suit. Decided I was going to start exploring the city right away, see what I could find. First room I went into, some kind of gun. Looked pretty heavy duty, also some food. So I took both of those. Had to figure out where to go next. There was a whole lot of stuff to explore. So I made a plan, did some running around, tried to stay away from the hostile people as best as I could. I found old workshops, batteries that still had half a charge, empty rooms with a little bit of furniture in them. I found some flak pants. I put those on. I had to keep my legs safe. I didn't want to leave my old pants laying around. They were good, so I kept them. Kept finding chairs and furniture. I found a whole bunch of silver, some kind of giant shells as well. I picked up the silver. Seemed like a shame to leave it laying. This crazy big creature came through. Looked like a giant overgrown beast of some type, I don't know. There were little dogs, chickens running around inside the buildings. This place is a real mess. Also some big scary cats. I saw beavers. More of those huge buggers, whatever they are. Found some kind of chemical on the floor. I picked that up. Looked like it might be useful. There was something labeled Neurotrainer Serum. I said to heck with it and took it. All of a sudden, I felt like I could shoot a whole lot better than I could before. That was a real boon given my situation. I feel like it might have made me a little bit violent and on edge. I do feel angry. Slightly more angry than before I took it. But at least it's making the scaredness go away. I kept exploring, running from door to door, building to building, just to see what I could find here. I feel like I got lucky enough. Found a few meals, found a weapon. And I was exploring. Some fella came running up on me. Looked like he had some grenades, so I started shooting him. He started chucking grenades at me. I took off running. I got hit by that. And I'd sneak back over there, give him the business. Take off again, man. He was blowing up walls. It was madness. But there was some sandbags I hid behind. I'd wounded him pretty well. Down he went next time I shot him. He had some meals, and he had those grenades, so I took both. Wasn't much I could do for the poor guy, leave him laying there. I would have been happy to talk to him. Heck, he could have been from our old planet. So I kept exploring. Never know what you're gonna find around here. Seemed like some supplies are definitely in order. Hopefully I could find a nice little place to set up a home. At least temporary, till I could get on my feet and get out of here. There were more hostile people about, so I had to watch my step. I saw a big old fat pig walking around too. That's pretty funny. Seemed like a nice guy. I didn't want to get too near him though. I was trying to avoid this hostile lady. But in the end, decided to give her some shots. Seemed like she was running away from me, so maybe I'd let her be for a bit. Perhaps she didn't want any trouble. Seemed to be ignoring me for the moment, in which case I'll grant her the same. I was exploring more buildings. I found some old video games of all things. There's telescopes around. This must have been some kind of observatory, hangout or something. I went running back to see where that lady had gone. Decided I couldn't leave her there. She's gonna shoot me up if I do. She caught me in the pants when she did start shooting me, which is just fine. That's the only armor I got on my body, so that was alright. I kept on moving. She looked like she wasn't doing too well. Probably die on her own at this point. But if I could down her, maybe I'd get a nice coat out of it. I saw maybe one of her buddies creeping up too. Shot her a few more times and then booked it. She had a gun that looked like it'd be a lot faster to shoot than mine. She probably outranged me too. This here shotgun doesn't seem to have such a range on it. I was stalking her around the buildings. Finally ended up dropping her. She had a meal on her, so I took that. I wasn't going to take her clothes. Just make me think about how I had to kill this poor person. And there was some more rooms nearby to explore, so I distracted myself from what I'd just done by doing that. I saw some stoves and some workbenches and some beds. There's all kinds of stuff around here. Well, I continued to look around, see what I could find. I got near one big building, got a really creepy feeling, so I just walked away. I did find a meal nearby. There was a little place right in the middle here, open area around it. I was debating on taking it over. It was empty, except for some furniture, so in the end, I decided I could make a little bed here. It had been a long day. I felt pretty stressed out, so I was hoping I could find a little place. I was going to disassemble some walls. Going to need some wood in order to make stuff. Seemed relatively secure, although I'm sure it's not, everything being built out of wood. but for the minute, it'd be the best that I could do. Picked a little spot to put some stuff down since I was carrying so much junk yet. There was a fella nearby, fully armored with some great weaponry. I wasn't looking forward to tangling with him, but at some point, I'm sure it's going to have to happen. So I decided to go for a walk. That fella caught wind of me. He started pointing his gun down my way. I decided I'd better boogie. As much as I'd like to keep walking, I had to get out of here. He started shooting at me. I was hiding in what was going to become a bedroom here. Wasn't sure what to do. He had range on me, that's for sure. This gun I found, probably one of the shortest range guns on the planet. Decided to deconstruct some walls, see if I could sneak up behind him. Sadly, this wall ran all the way north to south. I'd have to sneak up in front of him. He got bored. I could hear him walking off in his armor. I popped that wall apart. Started giving him the business from behind it. He didn't seem to care, or maybe he was running. Not sure either way. He did take up a firing spot on me. I boogied back and hid. I was gonna double back around. Maybe he'll just go away. I won't have to deal with that fella. He looked like he was on the ready. He popped himself out of that building. I started giving him the business again. He took some shots at me, but I got lucky there. Missed me again. His weaponry sure does outdo mine. We were having a point-blank gun battle. He shot me pretty good, right in the torso. Grazed me anyways. Felt like I'd be just fine as it was. I snuck back out there. Shot him again. Maybe I'll get this fella to go down. I wouldn't mind having that fancy armor for myself. He took some more shots, but he missed. I was gonna have to get myself taken care of here. I was bleeding a little bit. Seemed like a wise move, not to let that go on for too long. So I found a nice little room, got myself tended. Certainly could have done a better job, but I can't complain. After that I decided to take a walk around. I'd shot that guy up pretty good. He was bleeding alright. I was just wandering around, trying to stay away from him. He ended up running up on me though. Some people, man, you just won't leave me alone. Not sure what I ever did to him, but decided to hide in some other building nearby. Don't want to give this guy the chance to shoot me anymore. He was bleeding all over my future bedroom. I shot him a few times. He caught me as well though. He got me twice. Another shot in the torso and the rib cage. We were having a gun battle over what was going to be my bed at some point here. This fella, man, I tell you. Rough day. Down he went though. I gave him the business. He was carrying some medicine, which was fantastic. He also had some food. I was going to get that armor off him as soon as I could too. I wouldn't mind that hat, in all honesty. Maybe it's that mech serum I took, whatever the heck that was, but I tell you what, something about that hat appeals to me now. First things first, I had to get myself tended up. Once again, I didn't do a very great job at it, but it is what it is. Next up, put a little work into fixing up that bed, and then I went to sleep. That was one heck of a long day. I was exhausted, but I found some good gear. When I woke up, gathered a bunch of stuff, put it in the little stockpile I'd picked up. Decided to make that a little bigger, at least in theory. And I was eating some meals, running around. I was going to set up a dresser for myself sooner rather than later. Make my bedroom a little bit nicer. I grabbed some chairs from nearby. There was also a chess table over there. That'd be useful. So I grabbed that. Decided to start ripping apart some doors. That poor fella just wouldn't die. He's out there suffering. Eventually he expired. It was not ideal, but what am I supposed to do, man? I didn't start shooting at him. I don't think. Alright, I worked on what was going to be my little home for a short while. Gathering up some supplies, putting in some doors, trying to build a table at which to eat. That fella finally died, and somebody had already dug some graves nearby. So I buried him in one of those. Better than leaving him out, I guess. And next up, I built myself a table, which is alright. Finally somewhere to eat. I was still holding all kinds of stuff, so I decided to put it all down now that I had a spot for it. And it was back to deconstructing some walls nearby. There's a bunch of power cable too. I took it out just for the sake of it. Somebody left a granite end table sitting right out in the middle. I was going to ignore that though. And next up I had to do some repairs, followed by some more deconstruction. There's a bunch of bamboo walls. It left me a little bit of material. Next up I decided to play chess. I was feeling pretty beat up, I can tell you that. Sick of sleeping in the cold. But it was nice to sit down, mess around with a chess table. And this cowboy hat sure was fancy. When I got done with that, I disassembled some power conduit that was laying around, did some repairs to the walls. Thought about searching out some meals. In the end though, decided I better clean up my home a bit, make it somewhat presentable. After that, I was going to back to doing some more exploring of the city. So I found a battery nearby with half a charge. Seemed like I could use that, maybe get a light going for myself. So I uninstalled it, got it put in my room, and then it was back to exploring. There was another battery, but it was almost dead. You never know what you're going to find in these rooms. Next up I found another bedroom, followed by a room with just an end table in it. There's all kinds of animals having fights out here. Looked like some kind of wolf killed some kind of beaver. Looked like a timber wolf, but I feel like this is a rather desert area. Arctic wolf maybe. Who knows? Either way I kept exploring. Just hunting door to door. I found some kind of crazy bionic arm. I thought that was pretty sweet, so I picked it up. No sense letting something like that sit and go bad. There's a bunch of little dogs around. I found a winter cap as well. And I just kept exploring. There was another chess table, arcade games. More stuff than I could have imagined would still be left, in all honesty, considering how many people were around here when I showed up. Eventually, I decided I was going to take that chess table. It was nicer than the one I had. So I had a meal. I dragged that chess table back. Decided to take that old wooden one down. Maybe I'd just disassemble it. At that point, I was finally fully healed as well. And I was back to running around. Decided I was going to snag one of them telescopes I'd found. Give myself something else to do. There was a building right nearby that I hadn't really explored either, so I was going to go check that out. Well, I popped in the doorway. There was some crazy alien lady in there. There was also a meal. I thought about shooting her. I certainly was afraid of her, but she didn't seem like she was going to do me any harm, so I just kind of ignored her. Some kind of crazy alien I'd never seen before. Just wandering around. I had to disassemble some walls to get through the building. I don't know how they were getting access to this place, but I didn't see anything. So I took down walls, made my way through. There was a cat killing a pig outside. I went to run by that alien, but I got too afraid and buggered off. Second time I tried with my gun out, she right up attacked me. Now, that wasn't too cool, so I decided that wasn't gonna last. I started shooting at her. Turns out she bled green. Pretty gross. She didn't seem to respond to being shot all these times. And once she went down, I decided to go get a close look at her, see what kind of crazy alien she was. Sure enough, It was weird. I inadvertently stripped her. Decided to take her shirt. I'd investigate that weird alien thing later on when I was bored. And after that, I went back to my new little bedroom area. I had to tend myself. She'd beat me up. Then I went to bed. Another little night was passing here. She ended up getting up. I could hear her yelling. I don't think it was gonna last long though. If so, good for her. Maybe she won't be such a jerk and attack me next time. There's a bunch of rats running through the city. I guess that's not atypical for cities. I chose to ignore it though. Not much I'm gonna do about them, or that I want to. When I woke up, about 5 a.m., I deconstructed that original chess table. I had myself a meal. Decided I was gonna do some more exploring. There was a gun nearby from that one of those hostile women I'd killed. Decided maybe I'd bury her at some point here. For now I wanted to do more exploring though. Some of this city doesn't make much sense in terms of getting around. There was a dead dog in one of the rooms. Pretty disgusting. I took a look. Looked like it had been killed by some kind of snake. And then lo and behold, I found the snake right after that. I ran right by it. Next room I went in, I found some kind of drugs, a bunch of silver as well. And there was a room nearby. It was all closed off, so I had to take down a wall. Which is good, there was some meals in there. I can't complain about that. Next up, I kept exploring. I found a nice coat. Keep me warm in the winter. I found a bunch of gold as well, followed by a bunch of silver. I kept going room to room just to see what I could find. There's a crazy big cat in one of them. About that time, my wounds healed from that crazy alien lady. Decided to take some lights. I was gonna need that in my little room. Ain't it be easy enough to switch them around. Until I got some power up, I could periodically use the light with the battery. After that, more room exploring. I found more dressers, end tables. There was a bunch of paintings laying around. At some point maybe I'd grab them. Room to room. Once in a while finding something, once in a while not. It was a long day of exploring. Once again, the second day in a row. And once in a while, you have to take down a wall to find some space. How to get through this. Whoever built this city, maybe it was built by several people layer upon layer. Kinda seems like it's been fortified at some point. I continued my explorations. Decided to head on back home. Been a long day, starting to get into the afternoon. While I walked out, some fella ran up, tried to get a hold of me with his gun, which was unfortunate. But he didn't hit me, so I ignored him for now. When I got back, I dropped all my gear. Decided to mess with that telescope a little bit, and that was pretty entertaining. Still mostly daytime, but the way this planet was set up, you can still see out right into space. Pretty cool if you ask me. Whole different constellations than what I was used to. While I was doing that, some fella come along and shot me. That's more than a little frustrating. Some kind of submachine gun or something. I decided I was going to put on that armor I had here. No sense in not. I was also going to have to get myself tended up. I was bleeding pretty good from that random stray shot he'd hit me with. After that, I decided to get myself a meal before I go hunting that fool. I'm not sure where he went, but I was going to seek him out. Eventually I realized he'd fled in the opposite direction. Now I was wounded, but not too bad, and I decided that guy was gonna get it. So I grabbed my gun, Now that I was all armored up, I wish I could get something to protect my head, but oh well. He was going room to room. He must have been exploring as well. He found some good loot. There was medicine, beer. I started shooting him. Stuff started blowing up. Not sure what happened there. He's got himself a little smoke pop. Try and make me miss more. I made a mistake and charged at him. Fortunately, he didn't hit me. It was close though. I came around behind him. We had a point-blank gun battle. Neither of us doing too well, in all honesty. He was popping me up pretty good, but one lucky shot brought him down. Decided I was gonna bring this medicine and this beer back. Those seem like things that'll be useful. First though, get myself tended. And I didn't do too bad of a job at that. Tried to figure out what all I could carry back. There's a bit of juggling. In the end though, I got it all sorted out. I was a little confused having taken those wounds. And when I got back, I got myself tended well. Laid down in bed. I kept the gold on my bed. Felt comforting. While I was sleeping, that fella who'd been shooting at me before came up, started banging on my door. So I ran out, and I started shooting him up. What the heck kind of business is this, man? Didn't take long, he didn't even fire a shot back at me. Down he went. And I decided just to bury him nearby. For the minute though, I was back to sleep. Fortunately, he didn't get a hold of me with that crazy looking gun he had. And when I woke up, some meals were in order. Decided to move some stuff around. I was gonna build myself a new structure. I put a bunch of stuff outside and those crazy big creatures came up, started eating it. It made me more than a little frustrated. I was short on meals as it was. Now I got these animals eating them. Boy did they eat a lot too. I got that fella buried. I got his gun put away. Decided to start working on these walls. I wasn't having the best of luck. Being that I was injured, wasn't the best at building stuff. Despite my history of odd jobs, I ran out of wood, had to use bamboo for a bit. I was drawing in all these crazy creatures because I had food sitting out, which was extremely stupid as far as I'm concerned. It's a valuable lesson though. Remember me not to leave food out. In the end, I decided to pick them all up and put them in my pocket, see if I could get these animals to disappear. I left one room with no wall so I could get them creatures to get on out of there. Hopefully they don't start eating anything else I have, like those drugs or my beer. Eventually they all wandered off. I was doing some repairs elsewhere, decided to get on that wall right away. And at that point, all the critters were locked out, so that was good. I had to haul supplies around. Things seemed to be going relatively well. I built some roof as well. And decided to do some cleaning. This place was rather disgusting with the dirt. Decided to put my medicine down. Didn't want to be running around with that. Also, some cleaning was certainly in order. The place being what a mess it is. Thought about putting some floor in where the floor was missing, but at the minute that's low priority. After that, it was time to explore a little more. And right away I found some beer, which is pretty awesome. A bunch of beds, which is pretty boring. There's some crazy hoop stones around, hoop stone rings, whatever they call them. And I found some nice TVs, along with some more recreation. This place must have just been a party town or something. Although there is some evidence that work took place here. I kept exploring, found a nice reading table. It reminded me exactly of the one I had back home. That was hundreds of years away on a different planet, man. I continued my exploration, not sure where to head. Frequently getting hungry though, so I had to stop and eat periodically. There's not a table in sight, that's a little bit frustrating. Eventually, I ran on back, what I was going to call my home for the minute. Dropped all the stuff I'd been carrying and had myself a beer. Oh, that was glorious. After that, it was time to deconstruct some more nearby walls. While doing so, I had a panther decide I looked like a tasty meal. So I grabbed my gun, hid behind the wall I'd been taking apart. Started giving him the business. And certainly didn't take too long before he was dead. Poor guy was just hungry. Gotta be smarter about picking his targets though. Eventually I got that wall all taken down that I wanted to. I grabbed all the supplies that it left about, put those inside. At some point I was gonna have to start doing some cooking here. I wasn't looking forward to it though. Next up I buried that girl I'd killed. Still felt a bit bad for it, but it's kill or be killed here apparently. After that, I was off to bed. It had been a busy couple days. I didn't get as much exploring done as I wanted, but I found a nice little place to live. I was still a bit wounded, but I think I'd recover just fine. Just me, all alone now in this big city. What else will I find, and where will I go from here? I'm not sure.